Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of Paul Brown Show. This evening, my guest, he needs no introduction. You hear him on Power 98, Charlotte, North Carolina, our very own NoLimit Larry. How you doing there, sir?
What's up, Paul? How you doing, man?
Outstanding yourself.
I'm good, man. I'm good.
Tell the audience about the individual that we hear on the radio, Power 98, every morning, 5 days a week, 6 to 10.
Well, it depends on what you want to know, but NoLimit Larry. I was raised right here in Charlotte, born and raised, been here all my life. I worked at Power 98 for almost 15 years now. Came to Power 98 as an intern, and I've been there ever since. So,
what inspired you to want to be a radio host?
Well, you know, growing up, if you ask my mom, growing up, I was always into music, and I actually had an uncle who went to the Army and went over to Germany and brought back this DJ equipment. Okay. So I was about 9 or 10 years old, and that's all I used to do. I used to play on this DJ equipment, and I used to just sit by the radio and record the radio, record like different songs off the radio, and I used to emulate, like, you know, the DJs on the radio. So when I went out in the community and in my community and I played basketball and stuff, I used to always be that guy like commentating the games and just having fun with the players. So I didn't realize radio was a real job until I got into college. So that's what made me want to be a radio host. Like when I got into college and I said, oh yeah, this is a real job, and that's what I wanted to do. I always wanted to be an entertainer.
College. You graduated from Johnson C. Smith University.
Yes, sir. JCSU.
Oh, there you go. Them golden bulls and all that. How much of an impact was it for you to earn your degree?
Oh, man, going to Johnson C. Smith was everything for me. My mother always talked about, you know, any situation that you're in, like economically, if you want to get out of it, then pursue your education. And she actually went back and got her college degree. So watching her do that at a later age in her life, that inspired me as a young man to say, well, okay, well, education is something that's very important, not only in society, but important in my family and important to my economic situation. So Johnson C. Smith was everything to me because it allowed me to get an internship, and through that internship, I got the job I had today.
We've only been here for a few seconds, but I know you talk a lot about your mother. What impact was your mother in your life, and how is she today?
Well, like I said, you know, growing up, I was raised by my mother, raised in a single parent household, like so many other African American males in the world. And man, just watching her go through different struggles, and I'm my mother's only son. Oh, okay. So, you know, you always try to be the man of the house, and at that time I didn't realize what it meant to be a man of the house. But now at this stage in my life, I realize what it means, and just watching my mother, you know, go through different things and being a strong person that she is, helped me in my foundation. So my mother really built my foundation for everything that I have going on. And you know, as you grow later in life, you start to bump hands with your parents, but you still respect them. And she's a businesswoman today. She walked off her job. She had a nice paying job, walked off her job and said, you know what, son, I'm just not going back to work for anybody else. I'm gonna work for myself. So now she's a successful businesswoman, and I watched her do that as well. And like I said, she's always been my foundation.
I know you have a business now.
Yes, sir.
Did that have an impact on how you're doing your life right now? Watching your mother and all?
Well, yeah, I watched my mother, like I said, I watched her walk off a job and just like say, well, I'm not gonna work for anybody else. And you know, I've been working on somebody else's job for now 15 years. And you know, I talked about this in a luncheon the other day. I said, you know, we are controlled by two F's. We're controlled by faith and we're controlled by fear. So you have to let your faith outweigh your fear. So I wanted to start a business a long time ago, and I had the revenue and the income to do so. I just didn't know what I wanted to do. And knowing myself, I knew it had to be something that was interesting and something similar to the radio that kept my attention, because I have a bad attention problem. I have a short attention span. So it has to be fun, and the business that I own now is definitely fun. It's definitely something different every day, and I love it.
What do you say for all those in our community who tries to go out there and start the business? I mean, is it easy as,
No, I'm not gonna say it's easy, but the first step you have to take is getting started. like I said, we're controlled by 2 F's in our life, faith and fear. You have to let your faith outweigh your fear. A lot of people talk about, well, I go to church, I take this to God, or I do this and I take this to God, but you won't step out on your faith. You'll have all this faith and preach all this faith, but you won't step out on your faith and believe in yourself. A lot of people don't believe in themselves. So I would encourage you to take that first step in believing in yourself. But before you do that, you have to research the business that you want to go into and make sure that it fits you, because nobody knows you better than you.
That's true. That's true. I know you do a lot in the community, sir.
I try to.
And I applaud you. What kind of feeling does that get when you see yourself giving that time to our community?
I would say it's a feeling of fulfillment, because to whom much is given, much is required. So, you know, I think this community has given me a lot, not only in the 15 years on the radio, but even when I was a young man growing up in Charlotte, this community has given me a lot. So just to have a chance to give back and be able to give back and not be like this mega superstar like a football player, basketball player, and be able to give back on smaller levels and still have an impact is definitely a feeling of fulfillment.
In our community, especially for the youth, you are considered a role model.
Wow.
How does that feel, and how does that carry you in your walk in life?
Well, you know, when I first started in radio, I didn't realize how much of a role model I was. But now that I've been in it for 15 years, I realized, well, you know, I got to start taking some of the things I do in my personal walk a little more serious. So it's a feeling of pressure, but it's also a feeling of appreciation, because anytime somebody tells you, well, you're my role model, I look up to you, you got to know, well, you know, I have a standard. I have a standard that I have to live up to. So you just have to be careful of the things you do. At the same time, you have to tell people, well, I'm human, I'm gonna make mistakes, but you gotta limit your mistakes. So it's a feeling of pressure and appreciation.
And you do a great job, sir. We only hear about positive things about yourself.
Well, thank you.
And the radio station that you're on, you know, and that's a great impact on our community, because we hear a lot of negative things, but
yeah.
we never give the applause to the positive things that people do.
And that's important. I mean, whether it's me or whether it's somebody else, my mother always said you got to give people their flowers while they can smell them.
Yes, sir.
So,
yes,
and I appreciate you giving me my flowers.
Oh, no, sir. No, sir. You earned that.
Well,
you
thank
earned
you.
that. You earned that. How does it feel like working with the individuals that you work with at Power 98? I mean, you make it so.
Oh man,
y'all seem to be having so much fun on that radio.
y'all don't see the behind the scenes. Y'all don't see the family fights.
Oh, okay.
But nah, everybody is their own person, and at the same time we get together and we do our show in the mornings. It's amazing how it all comes together. But everybody's their own person. Yasmin is a female DJ. Mm-hmm. She's an entrepreneur. She's got her hands in so many different things. And Yasmin came to us from Tallahassee, Florida.
Okay.
And we've adopted her into our family and adopted her into the community of Charlotte. And she started to do her own community things. And she has a single mom initiative, which is important to me because I was raised by a single mom. So I just get to sit back and watch her grow, which is a pleasure. Church Boy has been with me since I worked at night, since I was doing 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. He worked with me at night. He was my technical producer, so I brought him with me to the morning show. And he's got his own things going on. His mother's actually a pastor. Okay. So he works in the church and he tries to keep us spiritually grounded as much as he can. Man. And then we have what we call a youngin'. We have A-Dot. She's a young female from Rock Hill, South Carolina. Mm-hmm. And I always tell her, I say, you know, the things that you do, you're representing a whole state and a whole city by yourself. Correct. Because nobody else from Rock Hill or from that area is on the radio where they're heard and seen each and every day. So, you know, she's young and she's growing, and I think we're all at different aspects in our life. And it makes for an interesting pot of people. Mm.
And that's what it takes to be successful. Yeah. You can't have the same person.
Right.
You have to have different mixture of everybody.
Right.
You know, that's a great thing. Let's talk about the children, the youth in our community.
Yeah.
What type of advice can you give to our youth? I mean, because we're talking about education, mm-hmm. we're talking about crime. what kind of advice do you give to our youth? I mean, when you
when I sit down and I talk to youth, I'm raising young men myself. I have some teenage boys myself. So when I sit down and I talk to them, the overall theme is, you know, they want something for free. You know, if it's free, it's for me. So I turn around and I ask them, and I say, well, right now your education is free. So why you don't go do that for free as much as you should? Because they always holler, well, if it's free, it's for me. Well, it's education that you're receiving right now. Whether you go to if you go to public school, it's free. So if you take advantage of that, that will set you wherever you want to be in life. That will set you for what you ever want to do in life. That will be your foundation for whatever you do. And I think, you know, one thing the youth want from us is for us to listen.
Correct.
No matter what it is or how long it is, they just want somebody to listen. And once we begin to listen to them, we can begin to get on that level, and then they'll start to listen to us. But I think the overall feeling of the youth is that they have nobody that's listening to them no more. It's like we've shut the door to them because, you know, they're going through different things and they're at different stages in life. And I think we as the upper generation have forgotten. I'm not gonna say older generation, I'm gonna say upper generation. Us as the upper generation, we've forgotten when we were young how our parents were towards us. And I think we just gotta get back to listening to them and find some more avenues of what they wanna do, because right now, the youth that we're dealing with is the most creative youth that has ever stepped on the face of the earth. You got 22-year-old, 21-year-old, 18-year-olds making millions of dollars from apps they've created, from you know, Facebook guy Zuckerberg. He was 21 when he created that in college. So he's talking about a creative genre of people right now that we're dealing with, and really we got to get on that level. We got to get down to that level. We got to talk to them, but at the same time we got to listen, and we got to get them to listen to us.
When we talk about not only education but crime, I mean, that's a big issue in our community. How do we kind of like let the children know that we're family? I mean, you know what I'm saying?
Well, you know, the overall thing behind crime is a lot of people don't want to commit crime, but, you know, Paul, a lot of people are starving. And they're starving not only for money, but they're starving for different things. There's a lot of people out there starving for love. You know, our parents gave us love. Correct. But today's parent may not be giving their child love. So we got to get back to loving our kids and loving ourselves. And I think that's why a lot of youth are acting out, because they don't get that love. And then, you know, we're still dealing with poverty. You know, a lot of our youth growing up today are in poverty. So I think if we can start to correct that problem, poverty and love problem, I think you'll see a big change in today's society, not only here in Charlotte.
I know recently they had a concert up at Verizon. I think they had an incident up there.
Yes, sir.
Why? I mean, doesn't that create a negative?
Well, I mean, it's all how you look at it. You can look at the glass half empty, or you can look at it half full. You look at it, it was 17,000 people out there.
Yes, sir.
You're talking about one incident out of 17,000 people. Not to excuse the incident was wrong, but you're talking about one incident out of 17,000 people. So I mean, it's all in how you look at it. We had 17,000 people. So you mean out of 17,000 people, 16,999 didn't get involved in the crime, or 16,998 didn't get involved in any type of crime. So I'm not saying they blew it out of proportion, but at the same time, you got to look at the whole face of what's really going on. It's crime is everywhere. It's crime in South Park. It's crime in Miles Park. It's crime in Dilworth, and it's not all us. So I think the city did a great job in enforcing the laws that night, but unfortunately something happened. But at the same time, you got to say, well, it was a great event.
And that's a great thing. And a lot of times, it only takes one
incident
to spoil it
for everybody.
You know, just like you said, I mean, it was 17,000.
17,000 people out there.
One, and that's what they focused on.
Right.
Was that one negative individual.
Right.
And that's the thing that, I mean, it's getting better.
Yeah.
How much changes have you seen from growing up to where you're at right now in Charlotte?
Well, I've seen Charlotte. I've seen all the crime in Charlotte. You know, I grew up here in the 90s, where crime in Charlotte was at an all-time high. We're talking about 125, 130 murders a year from 91 to like 96. And then you begin to insert different legislation, and you know, Chief Rodney Monroe has really came in clean up this city. When you talk about giving flowers when you can smell them, I think you got to take your hat off to this guy because he's really come in and really cleaned up the city a lot as far as implementing different youth programs, implementing the Gang of One, and just being hands-on. When you got a chief who's actually in the field with officers and who's actually holding his officers accountable, I think you see a big change